Good morning. So nice to see all of you. We're going to start with the hymn this morning for the morning song that I don't think we've ever sung. It's hymn number 1016. It's a Mexican composer. We're going to sing it not in Spanish this morning, but in English. Well, we're getting to know it. And then another Sunday, we'll sing it in Spanish. Marcel is at the guitar this morning, and it's a pleasure to have him here. I'm just going to play the melody for you here at the beginning. Pretty easy, huh? Let's try right from the top. Prophesy, O my people, prophesy one more time. Let your voice be the echo of the outcries of all oppressed. Prophesy, O my people, prophesy one more time. Announce to them the coming of a new society. I sanctify you, prophet, banish all doubt and fear. Be faithful to your mission, the quest that leads us on. Prophesy, O my people, prophesy one more time. announce to all the people that justice promised long, restore to every nation true peace throughout the world, and prophesy, oh my people, prophesy one more time. Let your voice be the echo of the outcries of all oppressed, and prophesy, oh my people, prophesy one more time. Announce to them the coming of a new society. Denounce all who are causing oppression, sorrow, tears. Let truth be your protection, the light of a new sun, and prophesy, oh my people, prophesy one more time. Let your voice be the echo of the outcries of all oppressed, and prophesy, oh my people, prophesy one more time. Announce to them the coming of a new society. Let this be what you hope for, the battle that you choose, to build a social order with justice at its core, and prophesy, oh my people, prophesy one more time. Let your voice be the echo of the outcries of all oppressed, and prophesy, oh my people, prophesy one more time. Announce to them the coming of a new society. Thank you. Thank you, Marcel.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation. Our community envisions an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. Thank you for joining us today. You are welcome here, just as you are. Whatever beliefs sustain you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identity. My name is Ann Radford, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, Reverend Julian Soto, our guest speaker, Reverend Sarah Lewis, the Director of Community and Faith Development, and Troy Fisher, our music director. Our guest speaker, Reverend Julian, until recently was the lead minister of the First Unitarian Church in Oakland, California. They have served on the Journey Toward Wholeness Transformation team of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and they are the author of Spilling the Light, Meditations on Hope and Resilience. Here are a few things you should know about our service today. We're streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, and the service is being recorded. For those here in the sanctuary, you can see the sometimes creative subtitles up on the screen, and they are also available on Zoom if you're online. Over here, we have fluffy chairs and things to keep your hands busy so everyone can be comfortable. We're a multi-generational community, and we value our young ones. Kids, babies, and teens are all welcome in the sanctuary. There's nursery care also, and storytime program for children in the classroom wing. We are grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, everyone will have the chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Mary. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual coffee chat. For those in person, please feel free to stay for coffee and conversation in the Commons. Today, we're launching our Guest at Your Table collection. Boxes and donation envelopes will be available to pick up in the Commons. Please return your donations to OUUC by January 7th. If you're online and you would like to donate to Guests at Your Table, the link is posted in the chat. Today, there will be no after-church forum, but rest assured, there are many things happening at OUUC. Check out the Tuesday electronic update or the website for the most up-to-date information. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. It is good to be together. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. If you're online and you have a candle or a chalice, please join me as we light our chalices together with these words from Katie Savani Gelfand. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Reverend Mary, and I use she, her pronouns. Our opening words this morning are titled Out of the Flames by the Reverend Sarah Eileen Lawal, my colleague in Boise, Idaho. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with the courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, an open-hearted love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together again. I feel a heavy onus on me as Gandhi's looking at me the entire service. I invite you to rise in body and spirit, and let's sing together a rousing 151, I Wish I Knew How. ever seen.
Good morning. So today we are launching the Guest at Your Table program, a program, beloved annual program of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee that invites us all to take home one of these boxes and put it on our table and imagine that we have guests. And the guests for the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee are the partners who are doing the important work of justice around the world. There are flyers on all the seats here today, and you can also read more online about the important work. But one of my favorite things that Unitarian Universalist Service Committee does is it partners with grassroots organizations. So every one of our guests this year are doing important work somewhere around the world. Work like fighting for migrant justice in Mexico, working for justice for Black people in Poland, for indigenous-led climate solutions in the Pacific Islands, and for increased protection for people with temporary protected status here in the United States. So please do read about this important work. And do pick up a box and imagine that you also have these guests at your table. But what does it mean to have a guest anyway? Today's story tells us a little bit about that. And it's about a woman named Sophia. Now, Sophia had been a teacher in the same town for so long that the kids in her class had grown up, had kids of their own, and sent them to her class. And people loved Sophia because not only was she a great teacher, but she was just really kind. And then one day, when Sophia got to work, she found on her desk a note. And it said, "My dear friend Sophia, I will be in town tomorrow afternoon. Would it be all right if I stopped by for afternoon tea? Your friend, God." And at first, Sophia thought this was a joke. But then, when she thought about it, it wasn't really a very good joke, and she didn't know anybody who would play a joke like that on her. And then she thought about it, what if God was coming to tea? So, on her way home from work, she stopped at the store and got a new welcome mat, one of those that has in big letters, "Welcome," and put that at her door. And then she cleaned the house top to bottom till it sparkled and smelled like wood polish. And then the next day when she got up, she thought, do I know what God likes to eat? So since she didn't know, she went ahead and baked some fresh bread and made a casserole and a fruit salad and some cookies. And then what about the tea? Does God like hot tea or iced tea? Better make both. But maybe actually God's favorite thing in the whole world is lemonade. So she made some of that too. Well, afternoon rolls around, and there was a knock at the door. Her little heart went pat, pat, pat. Was this going to be God? She went to open the door, and it was the mayor of the town. "Well, hello, Sophia," said the mayor. "I was walking by and I smelled fresh bread." "Well, yes," Sophia said. "I am expecting a guest that I think you would like to meet, so come on in." Well, they were chatting, and there was another knock at the door. Again, her heart went pat, 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 and she went to open the door. And it was all the kids from her class. "We were walking by, Miss Sophia," they said, "and it smelled like your cookies." And, "Oh, have you made cookies?" "Why, yes," said Sophia, "and in fact, I am expecting a guest that you all would like to meet, so why don't you come on in?" Well, so now all the kids were giving the mayor some much-needed advice on how to make the town better, when there was another knock at the door. Pat, pat, pat went Sophia's heart, and she went and opened the door. And it was her entire Soul Matters circle from church. "Hey, Sophia, we were walking by and we smelled wonderful bread and heard laughter." "Why, yes," said Sophia. "In fact, I am expecting a guest that you all will like to meet, so come on in." And it continued this way all afternoon. People arrived at Sophia's house, attracted by the laughter and the smells. Some of them brought pies and more cookies, coffee. There was a grand party. They had fun, they played games, they talked to each other, and Sophia was having such a good time, she forgot all about God's arrival and just enjoyed the wonderful party she was having. But then she remembered the next morning when she woke up and she thought, what happened to God? As she walked to work, she waved at all the people that she had seen yesterday. They were all feeling wonderful about this wonderful party, and she thought, I really must do that again sometime soon. She got to work, and there on her desk was another note. It said, "Dear Sophia, I had so much fun yesterday. Why, the cookies were delicious, the company was fabulous, and iced tea mixed with lemonade is my absolute favorite. We'll have to do it again sometime. Yours truly, God." Thus ends our story.
Each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practice of generosity and gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. We each have the power to share when we combine our gifts to create an offering. We are able to do more than any of us can do alone. We express our gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence of this community. If you are new or visiting us for the first time or second time, you are our guest, and we don't expect you to contribute. However, if you're moved to be part of our offering, what you share will be gratefully received. Last week, our offering was collected to help support our partner Unitarian Church in Chișinău, Transylvania, Romania. Due to your generosity, we collected $1,221 that will help send some Chișinău students to school and assist in repairing their beautiful and ancient church building. Today's offering will do two things. It helps support the ongoing work of this congregation, which is supported also by your regular pledges. This offering also supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. Our November and December Shared the Plate recipient is Olympia Coalition for Ecosystems Preservation, or OLI Ecosystems. Offerings from Share the Plate will support building steps for people to witness restoration and regrowth in the Cooper Crest Preserve, which is just over on Cooper Point, not very far from here. You can see it. This is what they share about their work.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Einstein. I'm Land Conservation Director for Olympia Ecosystems. Some months ago, I gave a presentation to the Environmental Action Committee at the Unitarian Church to talk about our program of environmental stewardship and restoration in and around the Olympia area. We focused that meeting on a preserve, which we call the Cooper Crest Preserve, which is in your neighborhood. It's on Cooper Point Road and 20th Avenue, where a clear cut occurred last summer. Olympia Ecosystems has been engaged in a pretty urgent and thorough restoration effort at that site ever since. We put in over a mile of trails, some of which I'm sure you have walked on. We planted 20,000 native plants, and we mulched many slash piles. Today, 1 year on, that site is full of regrowth. It's quite beautiful to see. We need to weed it somewhat obsessively for the next few years in order for the many trees to come back. It will be decades, of course, a century, before it is what it was. In the meantime, we want to invite the public to come out and witness its rebirth. That's why we put the trails in. This year, we're planning to build 63 steps down a steep slope in order to make that access safe. We want to invite people to come out, and we want to do it safely. And we're trying to raise $18,000 towards that goal. We'd appreciate your help.
You can participate in the offering by making a donation online, through the church website, or by texting the number that will appear on your screen. You can also mail a check to Olympia UU or place your offering in one of the baskets being passed around by the ushers. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
Una mattina mi sono alzato, oh belle ciao, 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 ciao. Una mattina sono alzato e ho trovato l'invasor, oh partigiano, oh porta mia, oh belle ciao, 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 ciao. Oh partigiano, portami via, che mi sento di morire. E se io muoio da partigiano, oh belle ciao, 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 ciao. E se io muoio da partigiano, tu mi devi seppellire e seppellire lassù in montagna. Oh belle ciao, 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 ciao. E seppellire la montagna sotto l'ombra di un bel fior. Tutte le gente del passano, oh belle ciao, 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 ciao. Tutte le gente che passeggiano te diranno che bel fior, e questi è il fiore del partigiano. Oh belle ciao, 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 ciao. E questo è il fiore del partigiano, morte per la libertà. E questo fiore del partigiano, morte per la libertà.
Thank you, Marcel and Troy. And thank you all for your generous gifts and all the ways that you share them. We gathered in community this morning, bringing everything that is in our lives and in our world. So let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. We'll hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. So for right now, let's just take a deep breath together. In and out. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and in our world today. Yesterday, we celebrated the life of Janet Dawes, who died on June 9th at the age of 91. Janet left a legacy of care for this earth, especially the Nisqually Reach, and care for her family and friends. We send our love and care to all who mourn her passing. We'll place stones in the water this morning to acknowledge that our world is not at peace, acknowledging all who are working for a more just and peaceful world. We'll place a stone in the water for the people of Israel. We place a stone in the water for the Palestinian people. We place a stone for all of the people of the Middle East who are impacted by this war. We place a stone in the water for those who are negotiating the next best steps toward peace. We place a stone in the water for those impacted by the war in Ukraine. And we place one more stone in the water in recognition of all the places where there is war and unrest in our world. May we continue to raise our voices in song and in prayer for peace. For those online this morning, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. Those of us in the sanctuary can see your sharing on the screen. And for those on site today, I invite you to come forward if there's something you'd like to bring into this community. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. Please come up by the side aisle and return by the center aisle. So let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all who share this day. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online, shared from the heart. And one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. Would you join me for a time of reflection and silence? I invite you to find a position that best supports your ability to breathe. And let's just take a deep breath together again, in and out. And as you breathe in, I invite you to raise your shoulders to your ears. And just hold it for a beat. And then as we breathe out, lower your shoulders. And feel them relax. And when you breathe in again, raise your shoulders. And as you breathe out, relax them and lower them. And just a few more times as you breathe in, raise your shoulders. As you breathe out, relax them. And one more time, breathe in and raise. And as you lower them, breathe out, and we'll hold silence together.
I invite you to remain seated as we sing together hymn number 1007. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river, it's flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that
Today's reading is To the People Who Have Mistaken Freedom for Liberation by Reverend Julian Soto, our guest speaker. To be free, you must embrace the breadth of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. You must know not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life. You must know instead that inside you are entire universes, milky blue, magenta, and gold, expanding. But to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise.
It takes 1 day and 22 hours to ride the train from Chicago, Illinois to Portland, Oregon. Several years ago, I completed that journey, arriving in downtown Portland on a Sunday morning. Naturally, I wanted to go to church, so I looked on the internet for a congregation that would be meeting soon after my arrival. As I made my way there on the light rail, I wondered if I would be welcome, since all the luggage from my trip could communicate to a casual observer that I was not just traveling, but perhaps houseless. I worried that people would be judgmental. Instead, something happened that changed my life. Today, I will invite you to connect with guest at your table partners and choose to act. But you must be clear on what is at stake and choose liberation. In the 2023 Berry Street essay, Reverend Cecilia Kingman describes the 10 tactics of fascism from the work of Jason Stanley, including the targeting of the poor as part of the most vulnerable and as part of creating an enemy, which an authoritarian leader can then target and punish. Can we together create conditions in which we can address poverty and seek freedom in our communities? That Sunday, I drove my mobility scooter up the block toward the entrance of the church. I could see the entrance from the sidewalk. A senior gentleman wearing a green sweater was handing out orders of service and greeting folks as they came in. Then he saw me. The greeter ran toward me to smile and say that I was welcome in worship, that he knew just where I could park my scooter, that there would be a safe place for my suitcases. This, friends, is what it means to have a guest at your table, to open your heart, to marshal your resources, to say yes, 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 to be free to love and share, and together create new possibilities. In the Hebrew scripture, the importance of hosting guests, of embodiments of hospitality, is emphasized over and over. One story of hospitality begins with Abraham, the patriarch of the Jewish people, sitting at the door of his tent, probably trying to catch a cross breeze in the hottest part of the day. And God appeared to him. Unitarian Universalists have many ways to describe their relationships with the divine, with what is larger than themselves, with the building of the beloved community, relationship by relationship, and right action by right action. And we are held together, each and all, by this divine presence, both in large and small ways. Large, like the beautifully luminescent webs that stretch across the cosmos, illustrated to us by the James Webb Space Telescope. Small, like the webs of protein called fibrin found in our blood that sew our blood vessels together when they are damaged. It is from this abundance connected to our place in the universe that we can choose to practice hospitality and generosity. When I speak of God today, you have both the spiritual and intellectual freedom to translate that language into the words that bring you to matters and moments of ultimate importance. What you do with that freedom is the means by which you can heal the world. We might often say that we are in difficult times. Let's focus that question. What times are we in now? Reverend Kingman frames the answer this way. We all know that we are in a moment of grave danger. If anyone is left wondering how bad it is, it's very, very bad. It's alarmingly easy, however, for us to grow acclimated and numb unless we pay rigorous attention to the strategies and timelines used by fascists. We are also seeing a rise in fascist thinking within our own faith community. Not necessarily the political ideologies we associate with fascism, but the style of thinking. What will be our response? It matters for us to use the power of imagination to imagine action that can lead to different and better futures. Jennifer Powell, a librarian, writes that she would like to unteach children that fiction is fake. Her definitions are that nonfiction is learning through information, and fiction is learning through feelings. Thus, the story of Abraham receiving guests at his table doesn't have to be nonfiction to teach us deeply. Abraham was sitting in his tent, and God appeared, in this case as 3 men. Tradition says that the commandment of hospitality was so important to Abraham that he lifted all the sides of his tent so that he could see potential guests approaching from any direction. In order to fulfill what it means to practice hospitality and reach beyond ourselves, we must be ready to seize the opportunity. Guest at your table is a decades-long tradition by which people of all ages and varied interests connect, learn, and act on important human rights aspects. For some of you, the opportunity to respond to the challenge of climate change by supporting, along with other partners, the work of Pacific Island students fighting climate change will call you to action and the practice of abundance. Much as you will see the story of Abraham, who jumped into action. God may appear to you as the opportunity to be transformed. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing. He ran from his tent to greet them and bowed before them. He said, "Stop for a while with your servant. I'll get some water so you can wash your feet. Rest under this tree. I'll get some food to refresh you on your way, since your travels have brought you across my path." The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee partners with el Fundación para la Justicia y el Estado Democrático de Derecho, FJEDD, the Foundation for Justice and the Democratic Rule of Law, in Mexico City, for the express purpose of supporting human rights and democracy, which includes accompanying folks, individuals, communities, families who have been impacted by human rights violations. As people who value the power of personal choice, you can encounter that struggle and determine you will affect it. By your support, you can interrupt it. You can make more freedom for others. Most Unitarian Universalists will not have the opportunity to be hospitable to those folks directly. Not as Abraham was to the visitors, to cook them a meal or offer them rest. You will most likely not march for their rights, but you can offer lifelines of financial support to this work through your giving. The ability of the southernmost neighbor of the United States to maintain the rule of law affects people in the United States directly. The Guest at Your Table program is one way you can make an actual difference. And in creating change, yourself be changed for the better, toward your favorite self. When Abraham offered the 3 men hospitality, they said, "Certainly, go ahead." God may appear in the opportunity to take action that calls on your skills, gifts, and resources. What in your life is saying yes to you? Who is waiting for you to join their work or waiting to join with yours? Not only are these connections important for building community, they also show how, while we share in the work of human rights together, we can learn new ways in which to rise up and resist fascism. In Italy, one story of resisting fascism came from women who rejected Mussolini's propaganda against pasta. From 1925 until his regime fell in 1945, Mussolini fought the battle for grain. He wanted people to eat rice, which could be grown domestically, unlike pasta, which required imported wheat, mostly from Turkey. By creating an underpaid labor market that included many homemakers, Mussolini exerted control over domestic foodways, or the eating habits and culinary practices of the people. His goal was to limit trade and close the economy, with the intent of stabilizing food production and raising birth rates to produce more fascist fighters for the future. The government passed out rice and pamphlets with recipes and propaganda at rallies. To eat rice was to eat for the regime. Jenny Long writes that to ensure those households in the South broke with regional culinary habits and followed the new nutrition guidelines, the regime suggested that pasta made Italians heavy, brutish, and slow. This caused an outcry. Southern Italian women banded together in defense of pasta and wrote protest letters in adoration of their beloved food of angels. Food of angels, their pasta. In the South, people refused to eat rice. No offense to rice, but they fed it to their dogs rather than submit to Mussolini's plan and discard their beloved traditional pasta. In the North, people did eat rice, but as resistance, they sang songs. You may have heard Bella Ciao, which has enjoyed a resurgence during the time of COVID-19. This was a song that the women reading the rice paddies for intentionally low wages sang as a hymn of defiance to terrible working conditions and to Mussolini's plan. Resistance comes in many forms. Resistance is courage. God may appear reflected in the people you love and the things you care about. Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. He said, "Hurry, get 3 cups of our best flour, knead it, and make bread." Do you ever feel like the world is too broken for you to affect it? The problems too deep, the corruption too rotten? Sometimes your resistance to the things going wrong in the world needs only to be that you are completely yourself. What about others, including your trans and queer beloveds and their communities? Can they be themselves? This is a crucial question for Unitarian Universalists confronting fascism and for lovers and workers of human rights. The answers are as common and crucial as flower, as doing what you know, as loving who you love, and loving those you may not understand. The United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner makes it plain that gender expression of trans people is part of their human rights with these words. At the root of the acts of violence and discrimination, including lack of access to gender recognition by the state and violence in healthcare settings, lies the intent to punish based on preconceived notions of what the victim's gender identity should be, with a binary understanding of what constitutes a male and a female, or the masculine and the feminine. These acts are invariably the manifestation of deeply entrenched stigma and prejudice, irrational hatred, and a form of gender-based violence driven by an intention to punish those seen as defying gender norms. Punishing freedom. Your Unitarian Universalist Service Committee has partnered with Queer Svit because since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, more than 62,000 people have died, nearly 60,000 have been injured, and roughly 14 million have been displaced. What follows is that racism, homophobia, and trans antagonism impact which evacuees receive help escaping danger. 2 Black non-binary people, a Ukrainian trans woman and a Ukrainian gay man, came together to found Queer Svit. Queer Svit's aim is to assist Black, Indigenous, people of color, and LGBTQ+ people impacted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Queer Svit provides evacuation, temporary housing, and relocation support, along with legal support and physical and mental health resources. Resistance is justice. The story of Abraham concludes with action and service. You will find him doing what is needed, creating respite, a temporary home of care for the travelers. Then Abraham ran to the cattle pen and picked out a nice plump calf and gave it to the servant, who lost no time getting it ready. Then he got curds and milk, brought them with a calf that had been roasted, set the meal before the men, and stood there under the tree while they ate. The National TPS Alliance does much the same. TPS here stands for Temporary Protected Status, which is an immigration status granted to some people who come from countries where they are unable to return safely due to conditions like armed conflict or environmental disaster or epidemic. The benefits of TPS include protection from being deported or removed from the United States, legal authorization to work, and authorization to travel. These are all things that demonstrate the value of human lives, even in migration. TPS holders contribute to families, communities, and the United States. By offering legal status from abundance for good reasons, the United States, as a host country, receives abundance in return. How do Unitarian Universalist values speak to these priorities? Thomas Aquinas argued that acquisitiveness, or focus on acquiring things, involves withholding good things from others, and thus impoverishing them. Capitalism, in this view, is a zero-sum game. In other words, it is an essential practice for Unitarian Universalists to make meaning from the way that we expect resources to be distributed and from our understanding of who gives support, who receives it, and who deserves it. Rev Kingman explains that fascist propaganda makes a distinction between friends and enemies. It casts the other as a threat and presents the idea that these others are fundamentally opposed to the nation. In this way, the Trump administration moved to radically scale back the TPS program and cancel TPS for hundreds of thousands of immigrants. The TPS Alliance works to change that by restoring TPS protections and securing a path to permanent residency for all TPS holders. It is humane to resist. Abraham gave his best, prepared a feast, and offered care for the travelers who happened to be divine visitors. Remember that this encounter between God and Abraham ends with one more aspect to consider: joy. That is, you may encounter God in the beauty and delight of being of service and embodying your dearest values, a beautiful feast at a bountiful table. Give to guests at your table because it will bring about the world you long to experience, because human rights are for all humans. Let's close by reflecting on the possibilities offered by Robert F. Kennedy in Prayer for Our Country. Let no one be discouraged by the belief that there is nothing one person can do against the enormous array of the world's ills, misery, ignorance, and violence. Few will have the greatness to bend history, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all of those acts will be written the history of a generation. It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time people stand up for an ideal, or act to improve the lot of others, or strike out against injustice, they send a tiny ripple of hope, crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring. Those ripples can build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. So may we live. Amen.
I invite you to rise in body and or spirit, and let's sing together hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle.
Please join me as we extinguish our chalice with these words from the Guest at Your Table Committee. May we recognize the divine when it appears on our thresholds and gladly offer a place at our tables. May we look to join with all justice seekers, offering welcome, hospitality, and solidarity. Liberation is not the freedom of a few, but the joyful realization of possibility for all. Blessed be, and amen. May you go in peace, go in joy, go in love.